Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, I take a borrower with me through the ground checks. We have to abort a trip to Kemble because of IMC. And I try out a new hairstyle at Leicester Airport. Before you fly, you always check the plane. I start by making sure the ignition and electronics are off, though I do need the fuel feed on to check the fuel. Water can collect in the fuel tanks and cause fuel starvation. To check it, you need to drain a small quantity from the gascolator and check for 2 phases. Fuel will float on the top of the water. As long as you only have 1 phase, this is okay. Next are the control linkages. These are for the ailerons. All of the nuts are stripe marked, so you can check them for movement. I've already gone up and down inspecting all of the linkage arms. Next, we check those associated with the stabilator. Inside, we are mainly looking for anything that looks out of place or could obstruct the movement of a control surface. The ballistic recovery parachute is in that bag. When it's actuated, a rocket fires it through that oval hatch in the top. Next check is the oil. Coolant can also be seen through the oil window. The Rotax is essentially a dry sump, and you have to pump oil up to the reservoir to measure the level. It's called burping the engine, and you'll see why in a minute. If the engine has been sat a while, it takes quite a few turns to achieve this. It's important not to turn the prop backwards, otherwise you can draw air into the oil system. It's also a good idea to check the bottom of the cowling for any liquids, as this may signal a leak. Periodically, you can do further checks by removing the cowling. This flight was part of a navigation exercise to Kemble. As we approached, we progressively encountered more cloud. I've stated before that with a microlight licence, you can only fly to visual flight rules, so this basically means no night flying or flying into cloud. At the altitude we're flying at, visual flight rules state that we need clear sight of the ground and 1500 metres flight visibility. We have clear sight to the ground on the right, but not on the left. We are okay around the plane currently. However, just north of Brize Norton, about 85% of the way to the Kemble, we encountered a wall of cloud. We were going to lose forward flight visibility, so we decided to turn around. A large amount of accidents are caused globally due to non-IFR pilots flying into cloud. You can quickly lose your sense of up and down and end up in a spiral dive. It's always better to turn around rather than push on. More so if you can divert to Leicester for some breakfast. Leicester has 3 tarmac and 2 grass strips, which means you can pretty much always land into wind. It also has a restaurant serving food all day for those £100 burgers. There's lots of history. Short Stirling heavy bombers used to operate here during the war. General Eisenhower also visited in 1944 to inspect 12,000 troops of the 82nd Airborne. Jumping Jim and Old Iron Tits was also in attendance. After stuffing ourselves for breakfast, we set off back to Sackville. There was quite a lot of movement at the airport. That's a Robinson R44 taking off there from the Heli Centre, which is a helicopter training school. One of my favourite things apart from flying is shouting the following. Yep. Clear prop! That always feels good. There's a couple of Cessnas over there and a sporty vans. Taxiing here at slow jogging speed to get back to the runway. As Leicester has smooth tarmac strips, we decided to take off here without using flaps. Once airborne, just ease a little bit off the stick to let the airspeed build up, and then into the climb. The weather progressively improved as we got back to Sackville. We did a bit of cloud surfing, and then a landing back into Sackville. This wasn't one of my better ones, being quite hard on the nose wheel, although it's quite difficult because Sackville's not flat at all. Although really long, you have to put the plane down in some quite precise locations not to bounce the plane back into the air. I turn left off the strip here to avoid a Rans S6, which is taxiing on the right.